Hello all, welcome back to Bosco Campus Vision. In today's lecture, we'll be discussing documentaries, editing process of a documentary, and roles of an editor and output editor. Moving on to the first topic, that is documentaries. A documentary is a film that portrays reality. Unlike a film, a documentary is not based on a story that has been conceived in someone's imagination, nor does it deal with fantastic or unreal extraordinary. So, a documentary is a film, but the difference is that, unlike a movie, it portrays reality. We know that in a film there is room for creativity, there is room for imagination. But in a documentary, the main focus is for the real elements. It portrays reality. It explores reality and through the images presents a story based on reality or a point of view. The drama in a documentary comes not from the contrived and the manipulated, rather from the drama that is inherent in life and reality. So, in a documentary, there will not be unwanted exaggerations as seen in movies. It tries to portray life as it really is. The supreme purpose of the documentary is the representation of recital or theme. So the theme is of utmost importance. The representation of the theme is of utmost importance for a documentary. Documentaries can be on a variety of topics. Wildlife documentaries are extremely popular. It may also be based on events, incidents, people, places, sports, or any topics that may be of interest to the audience. So there are documentaries on wildlife, on specific events, incidents, people, places, sports, or any topics that may be of interest to the audience. A documentary can take any theme that is of interest to the audience. Making a documentary demands a special set of skills. The editor or maker has an important role to play in how a documentary pans out and how it narrates the story. So, an editor or the maker has an important role in the narration of the story or the representation of the story. Docudrama is a genre of documentary. Here, events, especially historical events, are enacted so as to give the audience a better understanding of how something unfolded. So we have a special genre of documentary called docudrama. And in a docudrama, the events or the story is enacted so that the audience would understand it better. The creator decides the course and fate of a documentary. Various clippings, sequences of events, interviews are pieced together with narration, music, and sound, forming the cohesive elements. So in a documentary, we can see a combination of all these elements of various clippings, different sequences of events, interviews, along with narration, music, sound. So all these elements combine to form an effective documentary. The documentary maker allows the film to move forward by carefully piecing together various sequences and using a variety of techniques. The next topic is editing a documentary. Editing is of utmost importance in documentary making as it shapes the piece and determines the impact. As in any other television program, editing is of utmost importance in a television documentary also, because it shapes the piece and it determines the impact that is created that is likely to be created on the audience. The director is often in charge of the script and editing too, as a separation of the three creative processes could compromise the quality of the film. So, along with directing the documentary, the director also takes charge of the script and also of the editing process, because if these three units doesn't have a unity, it could badly affect the quality of the film. The greatest advantage and the greatest challenge to making documentary films is the fact that there are no plots or story to adhere to. A storytelling based on the usual techniques of introduction of a crisis and crisis resolution does not exist in this case. The documentary maker can explore new ways of editing, presenting information and facts, introducing the various facets of the story. We know that in a film there is a definite storyline. But in the case of a documentary, a storytelling that is based on the usual techniques of introduction of the crisis and the resolution of this crisis does not exist in documentary. Chronology is not an issue for the editor. By altering the chronology, he or she is able to tell the story in new and novel ways, determine the pace at which information is being related, forces the audience to look at an issue or event from a new perspective, and control or determine the reactions of the audience. So the chronology of the documentary is of no concern for the editor. If one alters the chronology itself, one could tell the story in new and different ways, which can determine the pace at which the information is being related, and the editor could thereby control or determine the reactions of the audience. Documentary makers believe that it is only through editing that the story is pieced together, or that the purpose as well as the meaning of the film emerge. Until it has been skillfully crafted together by editing, the film remains merely a sequence of shots that does not fulfill the task of communicating eloquently. So, editing a documentary is really a challenge because it is a milestone when it comes to a documentary making. And it is only through the editing process that the story is pieced together, or the purpose or the theme of the film is conveyed to the audience. Without editing, the documentary just remains a mere sequence of shots that does not fulfill the task of communicating eloquently. The editor brings the documentary together based on his or her creative vision. Where a cinema is a director's product, the documentary is essentially an editor's creation. So, when we say that a film is a director's product, the documentary is said to be an editor's product. Apple's Final Cut Studio, Avid, Adobe Premiere, Cine Paint Rent-A-Man, Sony Vegas are some of the software used for editing. The next topic up for discussion is roles of an editor and output editor. The editor and the output editor are both responsible for the broadcast of a program. These are the designations that are associated with the production of news and other programs. So the editor and the output editor has a significant role in the broadcast of a program. The editor assumes a responsible role as the successful telecast of the program is dependent on him or her. He or she has overall charge of a program and is ultimately responsible for every action or decision taken and for the quality of the program aired. So the editor is in charge of the program, and so he is ultimately responsible for the success and failure of the program that is being aired. Where news stories are concerned, they are selected, prioritized, edited, and broadcast on the say of the editor. He or she is a creative artist. The content, tone, and method of presentation must meet with his or her approval. He or she supervises, controls, and mentors every single member in the team. We know that the editor is in charge of any program that is being aired. So he supervises, controls, and guides every single member in the team. Allocation of duties and assignments falls under his or her purview. He or she must be able to control his or her team and get the best out of each member. In some cases, the editor may even double as the output editor for a shift. So the editor must be in control of his team. At the same time, he also must be inspiring to the team to get the best out of each member. And sometimes the editor may even work as an output editor for a shift. The output editor is responsible for the installment or edition of the program that he or she is engaged in during his or her watch, though he or she is answerable to the editor. So the output editor comes under the role of editor, and the output editor is responsible for the editing process of the program that he or she is engaged in. And so the output editor is answerable to the editor. The output editor looks into selection of news and the lead story, assign stories to reporters, make a call on which stories to continue pursuing and running, determine who to interview for various stories, oversee the technical aspects of the telecast, ensure that the news is logically presented and well structured, that it is balanced, fair, and truthful, in keeping with the style of the channel, and that it is suitable for telecast. So the output editor has a say in all these matters. Though both the editor and the output editor are involved in the same job, there is a difference in the level of responsibility shouldered and authority that each possesses. So basically, the role of editor and output editor is somewhat the same, but there is a difference in the level of responsibility that is shared by the editor and the output editor. And so it's time to wind up this session. As assignment, answer in 2 sentences what is docudrama. Thank you and have a nice day.